It looks like we are muted there, but yes,
There
there
we
we go.
go.
Sorry, I was just going to say, it looks like we are starting off with a little bit of technical difficulties today. I am noticing our Facebook live stream might be a little bit, or having a little bit of an error, but no worries. We will be making sure to send a message to all our Facebook folks to join us here on YouTube. We are also trying out a new live stream experience on Instagram too. So we may be on live there. It does say we are live, but if anybody wants to go and verify for us, please absolutely do so. That will help us. But today's live stream experience is going to be a special one because we're so excited to host today's session called Psychic Abilities Explained with one of our fan favorites, Psychic Marin. Now, a lot of people are curious about psychic abilities, whether or not they have their own psychic abilities, just kind of waiting to be unlocked, and how they work in day-to-day life. And today's live stream is designed to bring some clarity around that topic. How some of our psychics operate, understanding some of the deeper nuances of being an intuitive, and just kind of providing a safe space to kind of bring forward those questions and get them answered by one of our most trusted experts. We'll be trying our best to break things down in an approachable way during the live stream today. So whether you're brand new to the psychic world or already on the road to exploring your intuitive abilities, this live stream is perfect for you today. So Psychic Marin has been part of California Psychics for many years and is known for her very compassionate insight and her very powerful psychic abilities. And if you've ever joined our Tarot Thursday live streams, you already know how clearly she explains spiritual concepts already, which is why we thought she would be absolutely perfect for today's live stream. So enough kind of fluff. I do want to just ask, how are you doing today, Marin? And what is going on for today's live stream? What's ahead?
Well, thank you, Carson. I'm really excited about this opportunity to kind of do something a little different than we normally do with our lives, as Carson said. And I just want to make sure if somebody can comment. I don't know if it's on my end, Carson's end. He mentioned there's some technical glitches. My screen keeps going kind of in and out, so I'm just hoping we can run with this, or if I need to reset, let me know. But what really excited me about doing this for those that are joining is this is your opportunity to pick my brain and kind of get into a psychic's head and all of those questions that you might not want to spend your minutes on an actual reading, or you want to understand a little bit more about the psychic process and how it works or how it feels, how you develop your own abilities, how you understand how the psychic phenomenon works without the fear. That's what we're all here for. So I have a background in parapsychology, and I tend to have a little bit more of a science or kind of a book smart approach to understanding the psychic world. So that's what we're here to talk about today. So it is going to be different than the lives that you typically are used to seeing on the Tarot Thursdays or the Monday lives with our advisors. So I'm excited to answer all of your questions, but we're going to start off first with just a little bit about psychic abilities, the types of psychic abilities. Technologically, we're good to go, or should I keep rolling? We're good. It's the audio today.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was muted as I was working in the background, but I think we are good to go.
Okay.
And I've
I'm
tried
good.
to
It
yes.
hasn't glitched, so I'm good to go on my end. All right. So psychic abilities, psychic understanding. We typically hear clairaudience, which means clear hearing. So the clairs of the world. Clair means clear. So we have typically clairaudience. We have clear seeing, clairvoyance, like a voyeur, clairvoyance. We have clairsentience, which is comes up in being asked to hold items. I've done this before for a lot of clients when I used to do face-to-face readings. People would, I want you to hold, tell me what you pick up after holding this. So that's clairsentience, that sense of clear feeling. We have claircognizance, which is clear knowing, that like gut instinct of us just knowing. And then a unique one that we don't often hear about is clairalience, which is clear smelling. So who has ever had an experience before where they've been home? No, it couldn't have been anybody else. Cigar smoke or like coffee brewing or unique smells. That's a really rare gift. That's not something we see as often, but I have personally had that experience a few times. And so that sense of smelling, sometimes I very faintly get the rose scent associated with my grandma when she's around, and I sense the rose smell. So that is something that I wanted to bring to your awareness, because these clairs of clear sensing, smelling, seeing, that's a very formal term. We can pinpoint all these little unique areas, but it's just a roundabout way of understanding how our senses give us psychic powers, psychic phenomenon, psychic ability. Um, so having an experience like this that maybe you've already had in your life gives you some background and some familiarity. But if this is not something that you have experienced before and you want to bring this energy into your life more, you want to work with it, there are ways that we're going to get into and how you can invite this energy into your life in a very powerful, confident, safe way, where you don't have to be afraid to be working with energies on the other side. Is this, if this is your first time in understanding, have an experience, they're frightened by that experience, and they're not sure what those next steps are to connect with energies from the other side. So we're going to get into that and help those that may be a little frightful or not sure what quite to do. We're going to discuss that. So does anybody have any questions before I go on to more of the how-tos, just about abilities in general, or the breakdown of psychic phenomenon? Anything we've discussed up to this point that you have some questions about? Is there anything out there, you guys?
Well, we do have a couple of questions, and it looks like we have had a couple of skips. So we apologize for any technical
Yeah.
difficulties today. Yes, and some people, Marianne said earlier, check if Mercury retrograde is involved. Yes, I
Yeah.
was wondering that myself too. I was wondering why we were having so many issues to start off. Donna has been kind of um, Donna's one has one question where she says she hears spirit like sounds like the TV is on whenever she knows for a fact that a TV is off. She'll often kind of smell different smells, like cigarettes or vapes, hairspray, kind of whenever she's, I guess, not around.
Finished with Marianne. You said there's a question and then the screen glitched. So I just switched over to a different Wi-Fi setting. I'm hoping maybe that may help if there's fewer users on it. So I did that little switcheroo, but the phone glitched temporarily. So can you repeat the question?
Yes, Donna. Well, I guess Donna was kind of bringing forward a comment. Like she's been hearing spirit sounds like the TV is on whenever she knows for a fact the TV is off. Jessica saying she's been getting like sweet smells randomly as well. Donna as well, just cigarettes, vapes, hairspray, those kind of just random, I guess,
Yeah.
smells and feelings whenever stuff is, I guess for sure not going on, I guess, like her TV is on, etc. So
You know, I'm one of the rare people that does not really like the smell of coffee. And so that's one that when I get that smell, like I really notice it. And especially if I'm not brewing a cup of coffee or I'm nowhere near that it's just a, a instant smell that I can often get, that I associate with a certain spirit that I work with. And so you'll start to associate the smells with certain individuals, especially if you have a loved one that was a smoker or somebody that wore a very specific cologne or perfume, or you get like just this whiff. That that could be an indication that that person is around you. But I just wanted to pick your brains for a second and go over these experiences, because this is most important in starting to draw your awareness to these things that are happening all around us. And so if there aren't any other real specific questions, I'm going to launch into more of just some anecdotes, some experiences, and then the how-to. So you keep popping your questions in there, and when we pause, Carson can give me those questions. But I'm just going to give you a rundown of insight and information that's going to help you. I recently just had an experience where there's a couple young girls that are newly attending this college. They're away from their home for the first time, and kind of the nervous energy that we go through when we first move out from our safety of our nest. And there was an experience where one girl was sleeping, and the roommate was kind of startled or woke up in the middle of the night, and she was walking through and saw this darker figure. Well, obviously it was concerning. It was hovering over this other girl's bed. And so they reached out to me wanting to understand, first and foremost, am I in harm's way? Do I need to get out the sage wand and banish this? And I just said, time out. First of all, let's understand what just happened. Let's first understand why you were able to see this energy that you've never been able to see before, because it comes down to science, and it comes down to understanding our brain waves and the psychic process. So if I were to hook up electrodes to our brains and I were to monitor different periods in our activity during the day, we would see kind of like a stock market graph. We'd see these different patterns of brain activity. And I'm going to keep this really short. I know I don't want to lose you guys to the science of this, but it is important in understanding how the psychic process works for some and not others, but how you can learn to make it work for you. So this pattern of brainwave activity, if we were out and about and grocery shopping and in this think, we're in a beta brainwave state where we're very active, usually more right brain dominant, we're thinking. But if we are in that deep meditation, if we are thinking and praying and not so much analogical thinking, but we're praying, we're calm, we're in a deep sleep. We're diving down into that REM sleep, or that delta frame, which is more left brain dominant. And we are in that deep place of mental processing in our sleep and unconscious. So let me repeat that again, because I think I stumbled on the words. Beta brainwave is very active, and we enter into delta when we are in that deep sleep. The magic spot that we want to be in for that psychic process to slip through is the theta brainwave state. And we achieve this often by prayer, meditation, long runs, or when you've been driving your car for hours and hours and you kind of feel yourself drifting off. That magic spot of that theta brainwave state is where you want to be. And when are we most naturally predisposed to this brainwave state? Right before we are going to bed and right when we wake up. So I tell my clients and anybody wanting to learn how to do mediumship work that the easiest time to start to connect with loved ones on the other side is right as you're going to bed or right when you wake up. So as you are laying in bed and you are starting to drift into that twilight sleep, you know what I'm talking about, because you feel it. You kind of are in between the worlds. You're feeling like you're starting to dream a little bit. Well, if you enter into this frame of mind with real intention in trying to connect with the other side, maybe there's a specific loved one that just passed that you're wanting to connect with. So that magic period of time, right when you're going to bed, or right when you wake up, when perhaps your alarm went off or a dog outside was barking and it startled you awake, but you can slowly close your eyes and go back to sleep and capture that little essence of a dream. If you're aware of that feeling, well, then congratulations. You know what it's like to be in that theta brainwave state, which is what we psychics put ourselves into. That's what makes us professionals. We can, on a dime, snap into that frame of mind to be able to get information to assist you. But if you learn this technique, you can do it yourself. So let's start with mornings right as you're waking up, or evenings right before you're going to bed, to harness that energy and learn what that feeling feels like in those moments. Because once you get familiar with that moment and that energy, then you can start to work within that space. That's kind of a little bit more advanced work. I'm going to touch on it really, really lightly. Maybe we'll do another mediumship video in the future on how to really connect with those loved ones and guides on the other side. But for now, just a quick overview is once you're in that space, reach out, call that loved one by name, imagine them in your mind's eye, see them. And in that moment, once you've started to form those pictures, then you might be blessed with the sense of smell, or you might feel a touch. You might feel somebody hold your hand. Maybe somebody strokes your hair. You can feel a little bit of that touch sometimes. Maybe you're predisposed to more of the smell. Maybe, like the girls that I was helping just the other night, that you're predisposed to more of the clairvoyance and being able to see a figure or see something. But what happened that other night when I was working with these girls is that she was in that theta brainwave state. She had been asleep. She woke up in the middle of the night. And as she was walking from her bedroom to the kitchen, she saw this darker figure because she was in that brainwave state. Now, what happened next is the minute she saw it and was startled, she shook herself right out of that perfect brainwave state because of fear and went right into that very active beta state of thinking and what is this and what's going on, and then it was gone, poof, just like that. So the trick is if we can diminish that fear and stay in that perfect balanced state where we see that spirit, we see that fog or that mist or that essence, or we smell that smell, and instead of startling ourselves out of it, we're going to maintain that frequency and we're going to maintain that feeling. I have to personally kind of diminish my eyes a little bit to filter out some of the distractions. So you may see me closing my eyes a lot if you're used to watching me on the lives. That's my personal tool of trying to shut off some of my distractions to be able to go more within. And so as I'm in that theta state, I'm maintaining that brainwave activity so I can stay in that period as long as I can. And the more experience you have, the more you get familiar with that feeling and the more you can stay in that frame of mind and pull in more information from the other side. So she saw this figure, it startled her. She kicked herself right out of that necessary brainwave state. And then she didn't know what to do next other than call me on the hotline, figure out, should I start saging? And that's likely just to irritate or anger or frustrate or confuse a spirit where you can just live harmoniously. There are energies and spirits surrounding us constantly. And most often, if you are a go, 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 go person, like our busy lives dictate us to often be, we're missing out on that theta state where we can be in the lull. So the simple trick is, if you want to learn how to harness your psychic abilities, go for a walk, sit in meditation, turn in a little bit early and start your bedtime routine a little bit sooner so you can spend some minutes in finding that theta brainwave state, get comfortable with that feeling, and then call upon your ancestors or guides to be able to see what images, what smells, what senses you can gather and feel, and you can learn to communicate in that space. That's how the process begins. And once you've experienced that, you know what it is that you're looking for, and you can keep practicing and practicing and practicing. My guides like to work with me if I have a designated altar space or a certain area where I like to go to every day consistently. So they know I'm going to show up in this space. They know I'm going to connect with them, even to the time of day, 9 a.m. And so I can harness that energy every morning as I'm blessing clients. I'm working with getting information for clients for my upcoming readings. So once you are familiar with how to tap into that space, it gets quicker. You're able to do it instantly. You're able to do it when you are out and about and busy, 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 and you can take that deep breath, go within, and try shifting into that meditative theta state and start to pull in energy and guidance from your guides. So sometimes you need it the most when it's in an emergency situation and you are go, 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 or thinking, or a traumatic situation. Stop, time out, deep breath, go within, shift that brainwave state, and try to connect with your guides to help guide you through that situation. Oh, Pause there, Carson. So I'm sure we've got some questions that I can start to answer, but that is the overview of connecting with your guides, understanding the psychic phenomenon, starting with science and learning how to do this yourselves. Everybody has the power and ability to connect with your guides and to work as a medium. It's just whether or not you can overcome that fearful phase that we often encounter. Sometimes even me as a professional encounter these energies. It's not much different than walking down a very, very busy city street. And when you walk by somebody, you might feel their energy's a little off. You might sense, oh, I kind of want to step a little bit further away from that person, or maybe I want to walk a little closer to that person because I really like their energy. If you attune yourself to these natural feelings that we all know what that feels like when we're walking down the street and for some reason we want to just maybe avoid that person. That's where it begins. That's the essence, and understanding feelings and starting to work with that energy.
Right. Thank you, Marin, for that little lesson today. I know, yes, it's a little bit of a pause. We do have quite a few questions, so let's go ahead and do our best to answer as many as we can right now. I see some from Leith, T. Ruby. I see some comments from Donna, Marianne, a bunch of comments coming in. So thank you, everybody, for participating. We'll go ahead and start answering some of these questions right now. Now, T had a question earlier, sort of about the conception of, I guess, the symbolism of the hearing of bells. So one question that she has is like is it a common misconception that whenever you hear bells, it means that death is near? She believes that something similar happened to her whenever she was a little girl. She believes her spirit guide told her to run into the window and watched an incident that happened. Oh, is this somewhat true about the kind of symbolism of bells? T asks. And thank you for joining us today, T.
Yeah. As you're talking, I'm just getting like a lot of very old energy, like For Whom the Bell Tolls and Hemingway, and this old energy. And I think that to answer your question in general, the world, the universe, spirits, they communicate in symbols. And because we have so many different dialects, symbols tends to translate very well. And so often just using or wearing a simple symbol helps us regain our focus or helps us communicate with the other side. But those symbols, aside from our general understanding of symbols, often when spirits communicate directly, specifically to you, they have their own symbols or their own image that they're going to show you to validate that connection, which is often what my job is, what the advisor's jobs are when you call in. And it's, I would say it's more common if I were to say, oh, well, there's a butterfly, there's a dragonfly, there's a bird. We often associate those images and symbols with the crossing of a loved one. But when it's really unique, like, oh, well, she gave me a green marble, like something like that is not common, very out of the blue. And so if I was in a reading with you saying, well, she's showing me a green marble, and that was something that she gave to you, or the last gift she gave to you, or you played marbles together, that would be very empowering, very validating. It would bring me to tears knowing that, wow, this psychic really got that connection. So it's I can say that there's like an overview and general understanding of symbols, but yet the real validation are those unique little symbols that mean something specifically to you, that are very precise. And those are the way that our spirits like to communicate, to show that validation, to know we really are connected, not just a bird flew by or there was a hummingbird on my porch. In my opinion, that's beautiful. And if she was a hummingbird lover and had a hummingbird tattooed on her, that would really mean something. But in general, it's I really aim for that real strong validation of an item that's really unique.
All right. Thank you, T, for that question. Next, I saw one here from Ruby from Instagram. Thank you for joining us on Instagram, Ruby. First time trying this new dual format. Ruby is wanting to know is if you are reading about another person, should you or can you just think their name in your head, or is it more important that you say their name out loud and kind of put that voice into the universe?
I primarily work within my head. Most of the images are coming to me within my mind's eye. Most of what I hear are within my head. There is often a kind of a misunderstanding of when we see something or we see that faint spirit or that energy. It's more misty, is how we often describe it, rather than a solid figure right there. So, thinking of this a little bit differently in terms of energy and thought and intention, I believe that absolutely you can keep it, especially privacy and confidentiality, or if you're laying in bed at night and there's somebody next to you and you need to stay within your space. Absolutely, just keep it within your head and keep it within your mind and not needing to be audible. Now, on the flip side, for those that are more predisposed to singing, talking, people by nature that really like that intonation and that vibration of a name, they may like to call upon that person. They may like that invocation of saying somebody's name that's pulling them in, but don't diminish the power and the ability to connect with somebody within by just thinking and saying their name in your mind's eye.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ruby, for bringing forward that question onto Instagram. Now we have a few more questions coming in too. People really want to keep this interactive, Marin. So
Yeah,
great job as
you can
well.
go.
Thank you, everybody. Now I saw one here as well. I'm going to go with, Leah. She just kind of wants to know where can she kind of, and this is sort of a broad question, but how could she kind of get to a point where she can hear her guides like talking to her? And I guess this also specifies, clairaudience, clairsentience, clairvoyance, etc., which we did cover a little bit at the beginning as well too. But yes, Leith's
Yeah.
question.
All right. Well, Leith, we're kind of embarking on a little bit more mediumship 102. But yeah, I will spend a second just because you all are eager to learn, and I would love to help you understand this. So when we were talking about right before going to bed or right when you wake up and utilizing that theta state of mind, after you've achieved that, and you then call upon that loved one and you're connecting with them, you see them in your mind's eye. One of the techniques that I often suggest is, what is the most vivid memory you have of that person? Maybe you are celebrating your 21st birthday party with your grandma, and she was there and she brought in the cake, and you relive that whole experience in your mind. You're envisioning her bringing it in and everybody's singing and you're hearing it. You're reliving this moment. The movie's playing in your mind and it's as if you're there. And this cake gets set down in front of you, and you blow out your candles and you say, God, this is what I am manifesting. This is what I'm wishing for. And you turn and you see your grandma, and then you start talking to her as if it's today. You're no longer in that memory when you were 21 and the birthday party. You're now seeing your grandma, you're engaged, and you are taking this into modern times by now asking, Grandma, can you help me with this manifestation of this new job that I just asked for? Can you help me get this job? Wait and see what her answer is. Wait and see if she talks. Wait and see if there's interaction, because she will often start to communicate and she'll start to say things that are familiar or common. And you'll be in this mindset of not knowing, is this real? Is this actually insight and information? Is this me imagining this? Am I wanting to think this? Is it really happening? So by staying in that phase and going with it and going with it, as this experience unfolds, then you can ask for, will this person call? Will they give me the job by Friday? If grandma says yes, then we're going to wait and see. Was grandma right? Was this actually real? Was this a real experience? So often you're in this phase of gathering information. And that's why I often suggest to ask a question or show me something, show me an image of if maybe she picked up pennies. Grandma, show me an image of a penny. I want to walk by and find a penny today if I'm going to get this job. Show me an image of a penny today. And all of a sudden that afternoon, I'm walking down the street and there's a penny right in front of me. After I had that experience that morning, it's going to start to feel really, really validating. So the more you do this and experience this again and again, the more it becomes real, and the more you understand this and you understand how you can start to initiate an old memory and relive that memory, and then kind of time warp into today, and then ask questions that are pertinent today and wait to receive those answers. Sometimes you won't get an answer. Sometimes you may need to repeat this exercise a dozen times. But if you stick with it and you learn this feeling and experience, and you continue to ask and continue to engage, eventually you'll start to get information. And where most people stumble is right in that sweet spot where they just don't know, am I imagining this? Did I want to see this? Was it a coincidence that I found a penny? There's always pennies laying on the ground. But the more you do this, the more experience, the more you get that validation, and the more you realize there's something out there.
Thank you, Marin, for answering Alith's question as well. And thank you for submitting your question today. I'm seeing a lot of really good ones coming in, Marin. The very next one that I saw was, I guess, a dual question from Daniel, two short ones. Now, is it kind of more prominent for kids to kind of have these psychic abilities more often than, I guess, older people? And then two, in kind of without being in sort of that accepting state of mind of like trying to get into the, I guess, accepting messages from the universe, do loved ones or spirit guides tend to show up even whenever you're not in this state, or do they generally kind of need permission first, or do you need to channel this sort of energy before you're starting to receive these messages? So that's the dual question from Daniel.
Yeah. Great questions. I'm going to answer them in reverse. I think it's easiest to understand that what we are seeing is not all that exists. And one of the ways that we've proven this phenomenon is with EVP, electronic voice, with voice and recording, where if you're familiar with like the ghost hunter shows and anything with paranormal investigations, they often use audio equipment to record. So I could be sitting in this room for an hour recording and asking questions and communicating with guides and never hear something, but then play back this audio and I hear all sorts of noise and commotion, because what is being recorded and what the audio picks up is different than what our ears pick up. Just like a dog and a dog whistle, we often can't hear a dog whistle. Some people can because their ears can hear that frequency. Most people can't hear the dog whistle. So if you can think of it like that, it's helpful in understanding that there are things around us that we just can't see with our eyes. Paired with the brainwave state that we're in, we don't notice it. But like my friends that called the other night that were struggling, they called the line because they saw something and were scared. They didn't know if they could go back to sleep. They were in that frame of mind because they naturally woke up, were in that theta brainwave state. And as they were walking, now they saw something that they probably wouldn't have seen if they had woken up and done 5 jumping jacks in their bedroom and woke up and were now in a beta brainwave active state and walked out into the living room. They would have never seen that spirit. So there are always energies surrounding us. You need to be in the right frame of mind to see them. Or there's kind of an exception sometimes when we are in the midst of a crisis, or we are scared or panicked, or maybe not necessarily in that perfect brainwave state, but we get blindsided by an energy. And usually that is such a powerful message. I mean, if you need to be hit over the head to wake up and receive the message, that spirit is manifesting a lot of energy to be shown or to be seen and heard. So usually that is coming in more of a crisis state or a situation where you really need to hear, or maybe that guide has been trying to get through for months and you're not aware and you're not hearing the message. So eventually it gets louder and louder. So that's a helpful way in understanding that there's so much more going on around us. It's just whether or not you want to open yourself up to interacting with these energies or not. And then your other question, the first question you were asking about, repeat the first question. I keep getting something about sense, but repeat what his first question was, Carson.
So it is, do children tend to have more, yes, are they more psychically intuitive than adults?
Children are far more intuitive just because they haven't been programmed or told, no, you're wrong, or no, there's no spirit here, or no, this is scary, or this is taboo, or our religion doesn't allow us to explore this, or there's fear on the parent's part. Maybe the parent had a difficult experience as a child and they don't want their child to go through that. And so they just shield them. Nope, we don't do that. We don't talk to spirits. We don't play with these tools. But I want to give an example of children and playtime. And if you've ever seen just young children playing on the playground or with dolls and how they interact and talk with the dolls, they're slipping into that theta brainwave state. So when you take a young child that is allowed to just discover and play alone, and they're in their own world and thoughts, they're naturally kind of slipping into that state where often that's when, if you've got a young child, you're hearing them talk to grandma, or you're hearing them have this experience that might be frightening for the parent, and they're in their own world, happy and having this interaction and completely at peace. So yes, you're correct that children often more naturally have these experiences because they just simply haven't been conditioned out of it, and they're allowed to play. That's a part of childhood. And so they're naturally predisposed to being in that state of mind more because they don't have all the worries of the world and the go, go, go. They're allowed to enjoy life at a slower pace. And that brainwave state, that theta brainwave state, is where the sweet spot is and where that magic lies. And our hectic, busy lives just don't support us in that mindset. So that's why we've got to create that mindset by taking nice walks in the evening, spending time for prayer and meditation, manifestation work, working with tools, working with advisors, and helping put yourself intentionally in that frame of mind so you can learn to safely interact with those energies, keeping yourself protected, but then also learning how to use that information to work for you and manifest a pretty amazing life.
Wonderful. Thank you, Daniel, for submitting those questions. That was really insightful answers that we got from Marin as well. Now, real quick, I did want to take a quick pause. Marin, when is the very next time that you're going to be online and available? Because I noticed that we are really just blowing through the time here. So I just wanted to get a hint, or I guess a feel of what your schedule is looking like here after the hour.
I will be going live in about an hour and a half, and I will be on most of this evening. I usually work about 25 to 30 hours a week on the line. And if my queue gets a little full, you can always reach out to customer service to book an appointment at the top of the hour. And I would love to help anybody that has had an experience, or maybe had the experience once and then shut it down and you don't know how to get it back. Sometimes working with an advisor can help you, but it's not something to fear. You've got to remember that you have the power to interact with this energy or not. Just like if somebody's pounding on your door at midnight, are you going to open it, or are you going to say, get out of here? If you have a spirit that is messing with your feet or interfering with your sleep in the middle of the night, are you going to just sit there and allow it? Or are you going to sit up and say, no, not allowed. I will connect with you tomorrow morning when I feel safe and comfortable. And you don't allow that energy to be intrusive. You have this power to shape this in a way where you feel comfortable in engaging and working with these energies and choosing not to work with energies that don't feel welcoming or you don't trust. And that's why I always say it's good to start with calling upon a loved one or somebody that you do know, or an energy that's familiar. That way you can validate that energy. You know that grandma's going to show you these signs or connect with you in this way. You feel safe, and that way you can prevent those concerns of interacting with less savory spirits or spirits that might have ill intentions. You know, we want to keep this safe. It's a very beginning introductory way of learning how to work with energies. So we're going to choose to work with people that we know, or invite those familiar energies in to keep us safe and protected as we're new to this and new to experience this feeling.
Awesome. Thank you, Marin. Yes, I also wanted to get a kind of a feel for your schedule. I think we are probably going to go a few minutes over the top of the hour just because we started a little bit late today. And if that is okay with you as well, Marin, just because we also have a lot of really, really good questions, and I want to keep as much of that energy going and answering as many of these questions from people who really want to learn just about these psychic abilities. And kind of going off of Daniel's question, I spotted one here as well from Sandy for you. Do you think, kind of on the same element, do you think that kids generally think that their imaginary friends are sometimes their spirit guides reaching out to them as well?
This it can be a little tricky in knowing which is which, and I think the real answer is in what information is that child getting. Is it just playtime and they're constructing this image in their mind and they've got a buddy that they're playing with, or are they saying things that make the hair raise up on your body? We've got these senses and these cues, and so often people will say something to me, or, oh, there was a spirit in my house, there was a ghost in my house, and I often wait for that feeling to see, how does my body react? Do I feel the hair stand up? Do I get that sense of something paranormal or that spirit, or is it just flat? So I would pay attention to those sensations in your body, because that often could dictate if there's an energy around versus if it's just playtime. But it's really in what's being discussed. Is that child coming back to you saying, well, this friend told me this, or this friend told me that grandma's doing well, or what's the information and what's the messages? Because it is hard to distinguish. Often imaginary friends may come and go, but a real spirit or a guide will stay forever, especially if that child's supported in that, or if they feel safe in that space. Then that long-term relationship often distinguishes when it's a real guide as well. Good question.
Yes, thank you, Sandy, for that question as well, and kind of expanding on Daniel's question. And now, if anybody feels like they haven't gotten their questions answered already, go ahead and keep putting them in the chat. I do see a couple more. I saw one here from T as well, kind of earlier, wanting to know a little bit more about the difference between kind of prophecy discernment and psychic capabilities, kind of clairvoyance. And also she just really appreciates your time today to kind of answer all these questions for everybody. So thank you, T, as well.
Yeah, thank you, T. I had so much when Carson approached me with this idea. I was really excited because it's fun to do something less formal and just to do these Q&A sessions. So I'm loving it. Maybe we'll do more. But
yes.
I encourage journals, and I'm not a writer. I'm not somebody that loves journaling. So even when I just mention that, here it's another chore, it's daunting, you don't want to do it. But this type of journaling is a little different. So I would encourage you to have just a notepad and a pen, not a pen like this, but a pen like this that is ready to use. So when it's midnight or 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, when you wake up and you still have that faint little dream, that you can immediately start writing. And as I said earlier, I tend to keep my eyes closed. So what happens in my life on a very regular basis is I have my journal next to my bed, and for whatever reason, I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm hanging on to that dream, and I'm kind of in that in-between twilight sleep, theta brainwave state. And I keep my eyes closed, and I had this wild dream of this 3-tiered hotel, and I was going up and down the stairs of this hotel. And so I'm just going to take my pen with my eyes closed and I'm writing stairs. It's totally illegible. I can barely see my scribbles. Sometimes I might just draw the symbol. If somebody was eating an apple and from this apple fireworks came out of it, I'm going to draw the apple and I'm making little notes. And I can then safely put my pen down and go right back to sleep. And what's really cool is when you first wake up in the morning and you start your life, often you have zero recollection of the stairs or the apple or anything in your dreams. And you look down at your journal and you go, oh my gosh, I remember, ooh, just got chills. I remember that dream. I see that apple. And this apple, what does this mean? Maybe my business logo needs to be this apple with fireworks coming out of it. And so you start to preserve the information. And so having a journal just to scribble and write down, because you will be able to make sense out of it the next day and it will trigger and jog that memory of the dream. But it's the preservation of information and having it in a journal where months later, all of a sudden this bridge collapsed and you had this dream that this bridge was going to collapse, and you can flip back and you have it dated because you woke up and dated it the next morning, you little scholar student, and you have this journal with this reference and this date of this bridge collapsing. And this bridge was exactly like the bridge that just collapsed a mile away from where you live. So that's how you can start to get into more prophecy or predictive work. But it starts with first getting that information, knowing how to get it, whether it's during the middle of a 10-hour car ride where you're in that natural frame of mind and you slip into that theta state, or you woke up from a dream. But if you preserve the information and then something happens, it jogs your memory, you've got it on record, and that's how you start to understand how the psychic phenomenon works and how you can actually create this and more and more and more of it in your life.
Wonderful. Thank you, T, for that question. I see another question as well. Marin, yes, we're really getting some really good questions in here and keeping it super interactive, and seeing a bunch of comments coming in that they say they really enjoy the Q&A session. Some from Hannah, from Leith as well, T, Susan. So just a bunch of people really enjoying this live stream. So really want to thank you as well, Marin, just in advance. Now, another question I see one is here from the Baristas Astrologer username from Instagram. Thank you for joining us on Instagram here. They want to know more in a specific sense, or I guess a deeper level sense of your lesson. What exercises can they do to kind of get to that theta brainwave level more quickly? They find that during long periods of meditation, by the time they get to a really good point, they usually have to get up or kind of go to the bathroom, or kind of just need to get up and do something else. So is there any ways that they can kind of get to these exercises and reach this point a little quicker?
Yeah, there are, and thank you for your question. So we talked a little bit about just our normal sleep routines right before bed and right when you are waking up in the morning, because we all do this every day. And so we're familiar with that phase and what that feels like. So I direct you to that because we know what that experience feels like. And that's what we're trying to replicate in other ways. So if you're a distance runner, you kind of get into that runner's high and you feel that rhythmic feeling of miles and miles of running. That naturally puts you into that brainwave state. Breath work, any type of like controlled breathing work, real breath work, prayer, meditation, slowing that state of mind down is the goal. So it requires that you minimize disruptions. It often requires that you put your phone away, that you don't have children and pets and noise, like soft music's okay, but you want to create this environment where you can really go deep within. Now, if you have to be at work in an hour, you definitely want to set an alarm, because we lose the understanding of time when we're often in this space. And just like what we're experiencing today, an hour goes by. And so we could very quickly have this time warp where you feel like it's 10 minutes and it's actually been an hour. and now you're late to work. So if you got to be somewhere, then either choose a better time or set an alarm. Now, with that tip of setting an alarm, I don't advise this on a routine basis, but if you wanted to set an alarm, I choose 3:33 a.m. If you set an alarm and that alarm wakes you up, you might be fortunate enough just to catch yourself in that natural phase of sleep where you're going to feel it. There are fancy apps that monitor the phases of sleep and that brainwave activity, so you could start to learn when you typically get into that frame of mind when you're monitoring your sleep patterns on an app, and then set an alarm for that time. But anything that just involves some simple meditation and clearing of the mind. We've got an exercise that we're going to be posting in a few weeks about candle manifestation and work. And so using a candle as a meditation focus tool, and lighting that candle and monitoring and watching the flame dance, and watch it as you continue breathing in rhythm and allow yourself to quiet and still those energies and going deeper within. It's hard to do in our busy day-to-day life.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you as well for okay. Actually
I
a
want to
follow-up.
say one quick little note on that. It's my personal belief and understanding why all of the more primitive cultures and the natives and Egyptians and all of these excuse me, cultures that had, hold on, I'm going to take a sip really quick off camera because I'm losing my voice. Excuse me.
No worries, Marin.
All of these cultures that didn't have modern day technology, that weren't distracted by all of this noise, they were out gathering in the fields and weaving baskets and singing. They were in this frame of mind far more frequently than we are. They were thinking and excuse me, they were breathing is what I meant to say. They were breathing and meditating and singing and crushing acorns or preparing the meals. And so there was more of this kind of collective energy, which if we study and look at older cultures, they often had the medicine man or the prophets. They had the seers, and they had people that this was their job, and they lived more in that frame of mind than we typically do. So we hear of that and see that far more accepting in the primitive cultures than our modern busy way of life.
Right. Thank you. Yes, again, the Baristas astrologer, for bringing forward that question, just kind of how to breach that theta brainwave level. So very much appreciated. Now, a different question bringing forth. We also see a message here from Jacob. Jacob wants to make sure you see this. Marin, going to call you on Friday to see if you have any updates for him. So you may recognize Jacob.
Yes, I do. Thank you. And thanks for joining today. And I will be thinking of you. You've been through a lot lately. So thanks for tuning in. I'll send you a little extra energy your way tonight.
Awesome. And yes, just say he also says you're his favorite advisor and just the best ever. So yes, that he can't wait to hear from you again as well. And thank you, Jacob, again for joining us today too. We're really glad to get you connected with Marin today. Now, a different question I spotted was one from Susan. Susan is typically really frequent on our live streams with Rika. Now, she has been told that she is spirit sensitive. She gets chills at certain times, especially sometimes while passing an accident. Now, another thing she tends to notice at her refrigerator door will sometimes open and close when nobody is in the kitchen. Coincidence, maybe. And at times she thinks that her past partner who has passed, Lewis, is talking to her and getting messages from Lewis during this time. But most of the time, it's just weird things that come into her closed mind. And just kind of capping off her question is she nuts for feeling all of this?
I don't think you're nuts for feeling any of this. And that is part of our difficult hurdle and struggle, especially as adults, to overcome is that we do think we're crazy. And that's why I suggest the journaling, because it becomes pretty apparent that you're not crazy when you are getting more prophetic insight and images and information, or you're told something that makes no sense to you, and then a week later it does. And so the more you open yourself up to these experiences, it's just like everything. I've told this analogy before. Like, we all can learn how to dribble a ball, but we're not all destined to be in the NBA. We can all learn how to harness these psychic energies and how to work with them, but we might not all be destined to work as advisors on California Psychics, but we all have this ability to tap into and to experience it. And if it's your goal to master this and you want to do this professionally, or this is your dream to learn how to do this, and absolutely, you stick with it. I've got 40, I'm not going to reveal my age, but I've got a lot of years of experience in doing this. And so that time is what gives me the confidence to kind of bypass that hurdle of second guessing everything and questioning things. And am I crazy? Because after years and years and years of doing it, you learn that you're not crazy. You have an amazing, phenomenal gift, and that the more you want to learn to work with that, the more you can learn to engage with spirits to help yourself and others.
All right. Looks like we are running low on a little bit of the questions coming in. So if you feel like you haven't gotten yours answered yet, go ahead and keep putting them in the chat. But in the meantime, real quick, Marin, I know we are at over the top of the hour, so we'll be going over for just a few more minutes, but not too much longer to be mindful of your time. But can you please let everybody know, when is the very next time that you'll be online and available for one-on-one psychic readings on CaliforniaPsychics.com for anybody who wants to get any additional insight about personal matters, or kind of putting these psychic abilities, I guess, to the test, with your very professional, I guess, abilities, and why we're coming to you as the expert today. So can you let us know when you'll be online?
I will be on this evening. Give me about an hour and I will be on ready to take your questions or help you in harnessing your mediumship abilities. I'll be on the remainder of this week pretty much every day, and I typically work 25 to 30 hours a week on the line. So come find me if you've got any questions. I'd love to help you learn how to connect with your loved ones.
Right. Now, and I spotted a different question here from Donna, just wanting to know if any, I guess, in the aspect of candle work, do kind of a certain color candles, or can candle work sort of help to enhance your abilities, especially connecting with guides or just kind of receiving any messages? Is this just kind of a coincidence just because we're hearing you say candle work and we're talking about psychic abilities, or is there a real connection there, Marin?
So white is typically used as the general all-purpose color. I think white's also easiest just to purchase. These glass enclosed vigil candles you can find typically in the Hispanic food sections in your grocery stores. Even the dollar stores have them. So they're an inexpensive way of finding a spiritual tool. Now, what makes this a spiritual tool versus just a mundane candle is the way that I'm blessing it or consecrating it. So before I light a candle or work with it, I purchase this candle and I'm going to spend a couple moments in that prayer and in that meditation, getting really clear on what that intention is. And I'm praying first, I'm meditating and pulling that energy into the candle. And then I'm going to set the candle and I will light it. I believe I already put my lighter. I will light the candle. Now I have already started to shift my brainwave state from a very active beta frequency down to I'm slowing into that theta state. And the longer I watch this flame bouncing and moving, it's harnessing my energy. And I'm now focusing on the candle, and I'm not focused on the fan in the background or the neighbor that just walked by on the window. And I'm not distracted because my focus is here. And that allows me, especially for those that tend to be a little more active, or if you have an ADD hindrance where you're tend to be excited and a lot of energy, or you struggle with focus, have you ever tried just staring at a flame and silencing all the other thoughts running through your mind? It is an art. And so if you can learn just this simple exercise in lighting that flame and staying focused on that flame, you will start to feel your body slowing, and then you'll start to go within and feel the breathing and feel the rhythm. And as you control that breathing and the rhythm and watch the flame, you're now in that theta brainwave state. And at some point when you're ready and comfortable, you can either keep staring at that flame, or you can go within and close your eyes and start to connect with that loved one. So if you're struggling, if laying in bed at night isn't the right strategy for you, maybe working with a candle will help you in visually minimizing all the distractions and keeping a real strong focus.
All right. Now, Marin, since we are a little bit over, I do want to kind of ask you, is there any kind of a way, or I guess, are there any closing notes that you have or anything else that you really want to mention before we end the live stream today? Because I don't want to obviously abruptly just cut you off. So I want to give you this time. So if there's anything else that you want to add, I do see a lot of requests also in the chat that we definitely need to host a different one of these. So that way we can kind of get a part 2 out and answer even more questions. I think people have really enjoyed today's live stream. So
Great.
is there anything, yes, you would like to say?
Well, we've covered a lot today. I think we even took a deeper dive than we intended, and that shows me that there is a passion for this. There's an interest, and so I want to encourage all of you, even if you currently are feeling that you've tried this before and it didn't work, or you're apprehensive, or maybe there's some fear around this. You can control the way in which you connect in doing this powerfully, in doing it to manifest goals, in doing it in a way where you are bringing in guidance. And most importantly, you're doing it in a way where it feels safe and you're not out of your comfort zone. And if you stay within these boundaries that we discussed today, you're going to feel that connection. You're going to feel yourself open up to that sixth sense and that other energy. And you're going to feel your life and world, your universe start to expand, and this awareness of energies around you and how you can best support your life and others. It's a pretty unique gift, and I'm very, very fortunate to have this gift, and I'm very fortunate to have callers and clients and people like you that are wanting to learn and eager to experience this in a safe way, because you all have the power and ability to connect.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Marin, for just being our wonderfully gracious host today. I'm sure yes, from the comments, we've seen so many people learn so many new bits of information, and we're so glad that we got to host this live stream for y'all today. And it has definitely given us some indicators that maybe we need to host another one on the horizon as well, to kind of get even more question and answers out for y'all. So we really want to thank everybody for tuning in to today's live stream today. Marin, can you please let everybody know again, when is the very next time you'll be online and available for one-on-one psychic readings on CaliforniaPsychics.com?
In about an hour, I will be tuning in. I'll be on all evening, and then I have a lot of hours set the remainder of this week and weekends. So come find me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to today's Psychic Abilities Explained live stream featuring, yes, our wonderful Psychic Marin here. And if you are wanting these one-on-one psychic reading experiences, please hop on to CaliforniaPsychics.com. Thank you, everybody. And until next time in our next live stream, bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.